Hey guys, so a few weeks ago I did a video on Brian Shaw's chances of winning his 5th World's Strongest Man title. Well, today we're going to take a look at his biggest rival and possibly the favourite for World's Strongest Man this year, Mateusz Kieliszkowski. So when we're talking about the 2020 World's Strongest Man, this man has to be a favourite. He's done incredibly well the last few years. I think so many of us have spoken about him being a potential World's Strongest Man winner. Now it's time for him to step up. So this is a really hard year to predict. With such lack of competition this year, it's been incredibly hard to really make an educated prediction of who's going to be coming in shape. But that being said, we're going to take a look at the head-to-head between Brian and Kieliszkowski over the last few years. And obviously, we'll look into the events, see where Kieliszkowski is going to be strong, see where his weaknesses are, and I'm going to let you guys know how I think he'll do this year at World's Strongest Man. So let's take a look at the head-to-head of the two major contests, the Arnold Classic and World's Strongest Man, between these two incredible athletes. So we're going to go back to 2015, Arnold Strongman Classic, Mateusz's first huge international competition and actually placing third in his first ever Arnold Classic. Brian Shaw in his prime at this time, taking the win back in 2015. Moving on to 2016, Brian was second, Mateusz was fourth. 2017, Brian Shaw taking the win again. This time, Kieliszkowski coming in fourth again. 2018, Brian slipping down to second place. Still incredible performances by Brian at this time. Mateusz coming fourth. This is where we see a little bit of a changing of the guard. 2019, Brian coming in 8th. Kieliszkowski stepping up another place to 3rd. And then this year, Brian didn't qualify for the Arnolds. Kieliszkowski finishing in 2nd place. So this year, the Arnold Classic is the only major competition. In fact, I think it's the only competition that Kieliszkowski has competed in. So let's take a quick look at how he did in that show. Now, he came second, we know that, but I want to break down event by event. So 6 events this year at the Arnolds. And for those that don't know, the winner of the Arnolds was Thor Bjornsson, who has now announced his retirement. He's going over to box Eddie Hall. So we don't need to think about Thor. We're focusing on who I believe are the two favourites for World's Strongest Man this year. So first event was the trial by stone, Kieliszkowski taking 1st place. The bag over the bar, so like a weight for height event, we've got keg toss at World's Strongest Man this year. He came 3rd in this event, so this was one of his worst performances and he still came 3rd. Next event, Wheel of Pain, 1st place. Timber Carry, 1st place. The Sear Dumbbell, 1st place. He got 4 first places at the Arnold Strongman Classic. That's just an incredible feat on its own to win 4 events at such a huge contest. The only chink in the armour, and probably the reason he didn't win the Arnolds, deadlift, he came 8th place in. He's dropping too many points in the deadlift. Now, you had Thor in that competition, who is obviously, one of the greatest deadlifters of all time. And we're going to have to see who gets to the final of World's Strongest Man. But we're going to, deadlift is an event at the World's Strongest Man this year, so he's going to need to make sure he's not coming in 8th. He needs to be 5th or higher, really, on the deadlift, I believe, to really make sure he's going to be the #1 contender to take the title. So we looked at the head-to-head at the Arnolds. Let's take a quick head-to-head look at the World's Strongest Man contest. Now, Mateusz Kieliszkowski's first World's Strongest Man was back in 2016. Brian Shaw taking the win. Between 14, 15, 16, 17, Brian Shaw in his prime, you always have him as a favourite for any competition. It's only the last couple of years that Brian's kind of slipped down a little bit. And there can be many factors for that, and we've spoken about them previously in other videos. And one thing we have to, when someone's as good as Brian's been, that talent is always there and he's always a threat. But when we're talking recent performances, let's take a look. 2017, Brian was 3rd. Kieliszkowski was 6th. 2018, Brian was 3rd again. Kieliszkowski was 2nd. And last year, Brian came 6th. Kieliszkowski again 2nd. 2 times in a row, he's been 2nd. It's time to step up. He's more than capable. We've seen him beat absolutely everyone. We've seen him break multiple world records. We've seen him win contest after contest after contest. Now's his chance. He needs to come in shape to take his first World's Strongest Man title. So we're talking about World's Strongest Man. Let's take a look at the events in the final. Now this is all subject to change. With World's Strongest Man, there is always a chance these events change at last minute. But for now, the events are set as the frame walk into the yoke. Kieliszkowski is just dynamite at these type of events. I cannot see anyone in the world touching him on yokes, farmers walks, particularly when there's two of them. He's just incredible at both of those events. And, you know, I like to think I'm good at those events. He's better than I am. He is the absolute best in the world at moving with heavy weights. Next event, deadlift. This, as we said about the Arnolds, is the weak. It's the weak link. But he's had competitions where he's done okay. If you look back at the World Ultimate Strongman in Dubai last year, he pulled 420 kilos. He placed, you know, in the top few in that event. At the Arnolds, wasn't so good. And he's a bit like that on the deadlift. When you watch him, he can be quite inconsistent with it. So it's going to be all dependent on how he turns up, whether he's in sort of PB territory or not, and who else is in the final. And that's a big, big factor with World's Strongest Man, because the events are all different in the heats and you get different people in the heats. Sometimes you can think of these big deadlifters that may be a problem for him and they don't get to the final. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But that's the weak link. That's the question mark on him winning this title. And at the moment, you look at other people that have probably maybe not as many strengths, but less weakness, like they don't have the glaring weakness. So that is going to be the one event that could determine his chances of winning World's Strongest Man. Keg toss. We compare how he did on the weight fight at the Arnolds. He was third in that. Decent performance. I've been watching him in training. He looks very, very good. I would always say Brian Shaw is going to be the favourite of that type of event, but he's going to be there or thereabouts. And, you know, he's so fast. He's so explosive. With the practice he's putting in, who knows how good he's going to be on it, but I can't see it being a weakness. The next event, this could be a slight chink in the armour, is the Hercules hold. Now, notoriously looking at results, we know about his farmer's walks being, you know, incredible, but farmer's walk doesn't always test grip to the limit like a Hercules hold does. Someone like Kieliszkowski is so rapidly fast that he doesn't actually have to hold on to the handles as long as someone who plods along a little bit more, if you like. You know, I've not got as good a grip as Mark Felix, but I normally can beat him on a farmer's walk because I move faster. So this could be an interesting one. He's going to have to work on his grip. It's not the glaring weakness of the deadlift, but again, it's going to have to be an event he's putting work in to make sure he doesn't have two bad events. The other events are going to be great for him. He's got the log ladder. He could actually win the log ladder. We talk about the absolute best log lifters in the world, like, you know, a Graham Hicks and Ian Bibby, Zydrunas Savickas, Luke Stoltman, these kind of guys attempting world record level. But Kieliszkowski is not far behind, and when it comes to medleys and moving between things, he's just the fastest. Whenever I've personally seen him do a log medley, he just one motions every single log, which is just incredible, to be honest. And he's so explosive and so dynamic. He's not someone that kind of worries and thinks too much between implements. He'll just attack them, throw them straight up. And he's so good at it that I can see him actually winning the log medley at World's Strongest Man. Log ladder. And the last event is the Atlas Stones. And again, this is an event he's done extremely well in the last few years in all contests. He has had a couple of injuries, so it's going to be interesting to see if he's still got that commitment that you need to really attack the stones. But just knowing his personality, he's like the Polish Terminator. He just keeps coming forward. Nothing stops him. I've seen him win contests with a torn bicep where he had to do the Atlas Stones and he still pushed himself through it. Mentally, he's got the right attitude. He's got all the attributes in terms of physical capability. It's just whether he can get it done on the day, and if there's no glaring weakness in that deadlift, I believe Kieliszkowski is going to be the world's strongest man. So one last thing to mention is that current 2019 champion Martin Zlisis has pulled out of this year's World's Strongest Man. For those that don't know, unfortunately, he was in a car accident a few months back. He doesn't feel he's recovered enough and ready to really train hard for this event. He wants to focus on the Arnolds next year. So Whatever happens, we're going to see a new World's Strongest Man winner for 2020. Kieliszkowski and Brian Shaw are my two favourites. But tune in next week where I'll be picking a wild card who I think could surprise everyone. Let me know who you think will win, guys. Comment below. I hope you enjoyed the video and we'll be back soon. While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.